She won't explain this, but she feels it. And once she feels it from you, you don't have to chase her anymore. You think attraction is about looks, money, or saying the right things. But the truth is, there's one thing you can't fake, and when a woman feels it, she doesn't just like you, she loses control of her attention. It's not something you show directly. It's something she senses. In the way you carry yourself, in the way you don't rush, in the way you're completely present, but not desperate for her reaction. Most men try too hard. They try to impress. They try to be liked. They try to say the perfect thing at the perfect time. And without realizing it, they lose the one thing that actually creates attraction, because attraction doesn't come from effort. It comes from energy. She won't explain this, but she feels it. The difference between a man who wants her and a man who is completely fine without her. That subtle gap changes everything. When you need her attention, she feels pressure. When you're okay without it, she feels curiosity. And attraction lives in that curiosity. It grows in the space where she's not fully sure about you, where she can't completely predict you, where she feels like there's more to you, but she hasn't unlocked it yet. That's what pulls her in, not words, not compliments, not constant attention, but emotional tension. The kind that makes her think about you when you're not there. The kind that makes her wonder what you're doing, who you are when she's not around. Because the truth is, most men lose her the moment they think they've won. They become too available, too easy to read, too eager to give everything, and that's when the mystery disappears. And when mystery disappears, attraction fades. But when you hold your frame, when you don't rush to fill every silence, when you don't react to every small change in her behavior, something shifts inside her. She starts leaning in, not because you asked her to, but because she feels something she can't control. It's not obsession, it's curiosity mixed with emotional tension, and that combination is powerful, because now she's the one thinking about you. She's the one noticing your absence. She's the one trying to understand you, and here's where it gets deeper. She might not even realize why she's drawn to you. She won't say, "It's because you're calm," or "It's because you're not chasing me." She'll just feel it. That pull, that difference, that energy she doesn't get from most men, and once she feels that, everything changes. You don't have to prove yourself, you don't have to compete, you don't have to convince her, because now she's already moving toward you. Not logically, emotionally, and emotions don't follow rules, they follow feeling. And when you become the man who triggers that feeling, you don't just get her attention. You stay on her mind. Most men believe attraction is something they have to do something they earn through effort, words, or constant attention. So they try harder. They talk more, give more, show more, hoping that if they invest enough, she'll feel something deeper. But that's not how it works, because what she responds to isn't how much you're doing, it's what she feels in your presence. And that feeling doesn't come from effort, it comes from energy. It's in the way you sit without needing to impress, the way you speak without rushing to fill silence, the way you look at her without seeking approval. These are small things on the surface, but they carry a deeper signal, one she picks up instantly, even if she can't explain it. She won't break it down logically. She won't say, "I like him because he's grounded," or "there's something different about his presence." She'll just feel a shift, a subtle pull, a sense that being around you feels different. That difference is what separates attraction from indifference. When a man is driven by effort, there's always a slight tension underneath, like he's trying to get somewhere, trying to be liked, trying to move things forward. And that pressure, even if it's hidden, creates resistance. But when a man is grounded in his own energy, there's no pressure. No hidden agenda, no need for immediate results. He's not reacting to her every move. He's not adjusting himself to win her over. He's not dependent on her response to feel confident, and that changes how she experiences him. Instead of feeling like she's being pursued, she feels like she's stepping into his world. Instead of feeling pressure to respond, she feels space to become curious, and curiosity is where attraction begins. Because when there's no force, no chasing, no over-explaining, her mind starts filling in the gaps on its own. She starts wondering what you're thinking, why you're so calm, why you're not like the others who tried too hard. And that wondering keeps her engaged. It keeps her emotionally involved, even when nothing obvious is happening. That's the power of energy. It works without effort. It doesn't need constant action because it's felt in the absence of action. In the pauses, in the silence, in the moments where most men would try to prove something, but you don't. And in those moments, she leans in not because you pushed her to, but because something inside her wants to understand you. That's what makes it powerful, because anything built on effort can be copied. Anyone can learn lines, strategies, or techniques. But energy, the way you carry yourself, the way you remain steady, the way you don't lose your center, that can't be faked for long. And she senses that authenticity. She feels when you're trying, and she feels when you're simply being. And only one of those creates real attraction. The moment you stop trying to win her and start being fully present in who you are without needing her validation, something shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. Because now, instead of chasing her attention, you're holding a presence that naturally draws it in. And that's when attraction stops being something you chase and becomes something she feels without understanding why. She notices your need for her long before you ever say a word. It's not something obvious. You might think you're hiding it well. You might believe you're being calm, controlled, even confident. But beneath all of that, there's a subtle energy that leaks through, an emotional dependency that doesn't need language to be understood, and she feels it instantly, in the way you wait for her replies, in the way your mood shifts based on her attention, in the way you become slightly more alert, more careful, more invested the moment she pulls back. None of this needs to be spoken. Because attraction isn't built on what you say, it's built on what you transmit. When your focus is on getting her approval, your entire presence changes. You become more reactive, more cautious, more eager to maintain the connection at any cost, and that eagerness feels like pressure. Not loud, not aggressive, but subtle, like an invisible weight she can't quite explain, but definitely feels. She won't explain this, but she feels it. She feels when your attention is free and when it comes with expectation. She feels when you're choosing her and when you need her, and that difference is everything. Because when you need her, she unconsciously starts pulling away. Not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. Something inside her resists being placed on a pedestal, resists being the center of your emotional stability. Because the moment she feels like she has that level of control over you, the dynamic shifts, the tension disappears. And with it, the attraction. When your happiness depends on her, she stops feeling drawn to you and starts feeling responsible for you. And responsibility doesn't create desire, it creates distance, so she tests it. She takes a little longer to respond. She gives less energy, she becomes slightly unpredictable, and she watches, not to hurt you, but to see if you collapse under the pressure of her absence. And if you do, if you start chasing harder, seeking reassurance, trying to pull her back in, you confirm what she felt from the beginning, that your center isn't stable, that your confidence depends on her, that you're not fully in control of yourself. And once that realization settles in, something changes in how she sees you, respect softens, curiosity fades, attraction weakens, because the man she's drawn to isn't the one who needs her to feel whole, it's the one who is already whole, and simply allows her into his world. When you're grounded, her actions don't shake you. When you're centered, her silence doesn't control you. When you're secure, you don't rush to fix every shift in her behavior, and that calmness, that emotional independence creates a completely different feeling in her. Instead of pressure, she feels space. Instead of expectation, she feels freedom, and in that freedom, something unexpected happens. She starts leaning in. Because now, she's not reacting to your need, she's responding to your strength. A quiet strength that doesn't demand attention, but naturally holds it. And that's what makes it powerful. Because while most men try to hide their neediness through words, she reads it through energy. And she always responds to what she feels, not what you say. Silence does something most men are afraid of. It creates space where emotions either grow or disappear. And that's exactly why they avoid it. They fill every gap with words, every pause with reassurance, every moment of distance with effort, because deep down they believe that if they stop, they'll lose her. But what they don't understand is constant noise kills tension. When you're always there, always talking, always explaining, there's no room left for her to feel anything on her own. No anticipation, no curiosity, no emotional build-up, just constant availability, and availability without contrast becomes invisible. She won't explain this, but she feels it. She feels when there's no space to miss you, no gap to wonder about you. No silence that makes her think about you when you're not around, because attraction doesn't just grow in presence, it grows in absence. In those moments where she doesn't hear from you, but feels you anyway, where she's left alone with her thoughts, and somehow you're in them. That only happens when there's silence, not forced silence, not games, but natural pauses where you're not rushing to maintain the connection, where you're not afraid of things going quiet, because silence reveals emotional truth. If there's something real, it deepens. If there's nothing, it fades, and most men are scared to find out which one it is, so they keep talking. They keep reaching out, they keep holding on, and in doing that, they remove the very thing that could have pulled her closer. Because when there's no silence, there's no tension, and when there's no tension, there's nothing for her to emotionally respond to. But when you allow silence, something shifts. She starts noticing it. At first, it feels unfamiliar. You're not reacting like before. You're not filling every gap. You're not chasing her attention, and that creates a subtle question in her mind. Why is he so calm? That question turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into awareness, and awareness turns into emotional focus. Now she's thinking about you without you saying anything. Now she's checking her phone without you texting. Now she's feeling your absence in a way she didn't before. That's the power of silence. It makes your presence felt even when you're not there. And that feeling is stronger than constant communication, because it's self-generated. It comes from within her, not from you forcing it. And emotions that come from within are always deeper. Most men think talking more builds connection. But real connection isn't built by constant interaction. It's built by emotional impact. And impact needs contrast. Sound and silence, presence and absence, attention and space. When that balance exists, attraction breathes. But when you remove silence completely, you suffocate it, because now there's nothing left for her to discover. Nothing left to feel on her own, nothing left to miss, and when she doesn't miss you, she slowly stops needing you. That's why silence isn't distance, it's the space where desire either grows quietly or disappears completely. Mystery isn't about hiding things, it's about not revealing everything too soon, and that's where most men go wrong. They think being open means telling her everything. Every thought, every plan, every feeling laid out completely, with nothing left to wonder about. They believe that transparency builds attraction, but what it actually does is remove tension, because when she fully understands you too quickly, there's nothing left for her to explore. No unanswered questions, no emotional gaps, no reason to lean in and discover more. An attraction needs that space. She won't explain this, but she feels it. The difference between a man she understands and a man she's still trying to figure out. When she can predict your every move, your every reaction, your every word, something inside her relaxes too much. Not in a good way, but in a way that lowers emotional engagement. You become familiar, and familiarity without depth becomes boring. That doesn't mean you should act fake or play games. It means you don't rush to expose everything about yourself. You let things unfold. You allow her to discover you in layers, not all at once, because discovery creates investment. When she learns something new about you over time, it feels earned. It creates a sense of progression, a feeling that there's always more beneath the surface. That's what keeps her mentally engaged. That's what keeps her emotionally curious. But when you reveal everything early, your past, your feelings, your intentions, your attention all at once, you remove the journey. And without a journey, there's no emotional build-up, no anticipation, no tension, no pull, just clarity. And too much clarity too soon kills attraction, because attraction doesn't grow from knowing everything. It grows from wanting to know more, from those moments where she pauses and thinks, why did he say that? What is he really like? What is he not showing yet? Those questions keep her mind active. They keep you present in her thoughts even when you're not there. That's the power of mystery. It's not about being distant. It's about being layered, not cold but controlled. Not unavailable, but not fully accessible either. When you hold parts of yourself back, not out of fear, but out of self-control, you create depth. And depth creates attraction, because now, instead of consuming everything about you instantly, she experiences you over time, piece by piece, moment by moment, and each piece pulls her in a little more. Most men rush this process. They want instant connection, instant closeness, instant understanding, but attraction doesn't work on speed. It works on tension, and tension needs space, space between what she knows and what she still wants to know. When that space disappears, so does the excitement. So the real power isn't in saying more, it's in knowing what asterisk not asterisk to say, and when to let silence carry the weight. Because the less you rush to explain yourself, the more she feels drawn to understand you. And that feeling is what keeps her coming back. She won't sit you down and explain what she feels. She won't analyze it, label it, or break it into logic. She experiences it. That's the difference most men fail to understand. They look for clear answers, direct communication, obvious reasons. They want to know asterisk, why asterisk, she's acting different. Asterisk, why asterisk, her energy shifted. Asterisk, why asterisk, she feels closer one day and distant the next. But her attraction doesn't operate on explanations. It moves on feeling. And those feelings can change without warning, without a clear reason, without something you can point to and fix. One moment she feels drawn to you, the next something feels off. Not wrong, just different. And even she can't fully explain it. She won't say, your energy changed. She won't say, you became too predictable. She won't say, I stopped feeling the same emotional pull. She'll just feel it and respond to it. That's why trying to logically understand her emotions often leads nowhere, because by the time you're asking questions, she's already feeling the answer. In her tone, in her distance, in the way she engages with you. And when you try to force clarity out of her, it creates pressure. It makes her feel like she needs to justify something. She doesn't fully understand herself, and pressure kills attraction faster than silence ever could. Because now, instead of experiencing you, she's explaining herself to you. Instead of feeling something natural, she's being pulled into something heavy. And that shifts the dynamic. She starts pulling back not because she wants to hurt you, but because the connection no longer feels effortless. It feels like work, and emotions don't grow under pressure. They grow in space, in moments where she can feel freely without needing to explain why. That's why the most powerful thing you can do isn't to question every shift, it's to observe it, to notice without reacting, to feel without chasing clarity, to stay grounded while her emotions move, because her feelings are fluid. They rise and fall, they expand and contract, they intensify and fade sometimes without warning, and if you react to every change, you lose stability. But if you stay centered, something different happens. She begins to feel your consistency, not in actions, but in presence. Not in what you say, but in how you remain, and that creates trust on a deeper level. Because now, she doesn't feel like she has to explain herself to you. She just feels safe experiencing her emotions around you. Without pressure, without judgment, without expectation, and in that space, her feelings have room to grow again. Because the truth is, she won't always tell you what she feels, but she will always show you in her energy, in her attention, in her presence. And if you learn to read that without forcing her to explain it, you start understanding her on a level most men never reach. Not through words, but through what she quietly feels inside. Control isn't something she asks for, it's something she responds to. Not control over her, but control over yourself, and that's where most men lose their edge. Because the moment they feel something real, they start reacting to it. Their emotions rise, and instead of holding them, they express everything at once. Too much interest, too much attention, too much availability. It feels honest, but it also feels uncontrolled, and she senses that immediately. She won't explain this, but she feels it. The difference between a man who experiences emotion and a man who is led by it. When you're led by your emotions, your behavior becomes predictable. If she pulls back, you chase. If she gives attention, you get attached. If she becomes distant, you lose your calm, and that pattern is easy to read, easy to predict, easy to control. And anything that feels easy to control loses its pull, because attraction isn't just about connection, it's about tension. And tension disappears when your reactions are obvious. But when you have control over your emotional responses, everything changes. You feel things deeply, but you don't rush to act on them. You notice shifts, but you don't immediately react. You stay aware, but you remain steady, and that steadiness creates a different kind of presence, a presence she can't easily figure out. When she pulls back and you don't chase, it creates a pause, a question, a subtle disruption in her expectations. Because she's used to men reacting, she's used to men trying to fix the distance. She's used to emotional predictability. But when you stay composed, she starts leaning in to understand why, not because you forced it, but because you didn't. That's what creates curiosity, and curiosity is the doorway to attraction. Because now, instead of you trying to manage her emotions, she becomes aware of yours. She starts observing you, trying to read you, trying to feel where you stand, and that shift, where she's trying to understand you instead of the other way around, changes the entire dynamic. But this only happens when your control is real, not forced silence, not pretending not to care, not playing a role. Because she can feel that too. Real control is internal. It's when your emotions don't dictate your actions. It's when your attention isn't easily pulled. It's when your mood doesn't depend on her behavior. That's what makes it powerful. Because now you're not reacting to her world, she's stepping into yours, and in that space she feels something rare. Not pressure, not neediness, not expectation, but calm intensity. A man who feels but doesn't lose himself. A man who cares but doesn't collapse. A man who is present but not dependent. And that combination is magnetic because it creates emotional safety without killing tension. She feels free around you, but not in control of you. And that's where attraction deepens. Not when you try to lead her, but when you master yourself so completely that she naturally starts moving toward you.